Coming up on today's Locked On Mavs, we're talking about PJ Washington and a possible extension coming on Friday and Mark Stein's latest report on today's Locked On Mavs.
Stop it! Let's go! Stop! The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
I'm going to get a city like that.
You are locked on the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Isaac. I'm one of your co-hosts covering the Mavs for the last 10 years alongside my good friend Nick Angstead, who is enjoying some time away right now on vacation, much deserved. He's up in the mountains in Colorado with his dog and, man, just living it up. I'm jealous of all of his pictures right now. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Well, it's just us today hanging out. Let's have a little solo pod. I want to talk a lot about PJ Washington. We do a lot of stuff on here about Anthony Davis, about Cooper Flagg, Kyrie Irving, and we don't give a lot of extended love to PJ Washington, but we have a contract situation with him right now, and Mark Stein kind of reminded us all the other day of where this could be headed on Friday, as he is coming up on an extension. I don't want to say deadline, but it's the first day that he can sign an extension. PJ Washington is going into the last season of his contract here in Dallas, and if the Mavs want to keep him long term, they have a couple different options. They can offer him the full 4-year max extension that he could possibly get starting on Friday, and see if he's willing to go that route and to take that, or they could kind of risk it and say, you know what, let's see how the season plays out, and we'll revisit over the summer and see what happens then. Well, Mark Stein reminds us again, too, that everything we've heard about PJ and his relationship with Dallas is that it's been good, and that we could be getting an extension and all of that. And this was from the Stein line, Mark Stein's Substack, which if you're a Mavs fan or really an NBA fan, you should already be subscribed to that on Substack. But this is what Mark Stein said. He said, PJ Washington could be, he is eligible Friday for a new 4-year deal just shy of $90 million. While he is no longer an automatic starter in Dallas after the Mavericks stunningly won the lottery with the rights to select Cooper Flagg, Washington only just turned 27 himself on Saturday and has no shortage of admirers and front offices around the league. Man, I believe that so much. I feel like a guy at 6'7", 6'8", we are constantly, Nick and I have been doing daily shows for, 8 years now, talking to Mavs forever. Literally can say thousands of episodes on this show. And it feels like we always talk about, you can never have enough 6'6" to 6'9" guys on your roster. And especially guys, it's not just that he's a 6'7", 6'8" wing, but who can play at the level that PJ is playing at, and the level that he played at last season, which is arguably the best season of his career. Stein continues to say, with an annual salary that comes in at lower than $25 million, Washington was certainly still ranked as a player coveted by rival teams. But it's important to note that if he signs an extension, and we talked extensively with the Daniel Gafford conversation. When Daniel Gafford signed an extension, he came in right under those parameters that still allowed him to be trade eligible. But if you're a player like PJ Washington and you sign an extension that goes 4 years, not 3 years, or you sign an extension that goes 20% in year one above your salary right now, which he makes around $14 million right now. So if he signs an extension to where that next year or the first year of the extension goes 20% above that, both of those triggers a no trade, basically. That he is not trade eligible for the next 6 months, which if he signs right now on Friday, that would take you past the February trade deadline, therefore meaning that PJ Washington would not be able to be traded by the Dallas Mavericks this season. So short terms of that, if he signs an extension that's 4 years, he's not going to be traded by the Mavs this season. If he signs an extension that's 3 years, but still is like max money on that, he's not trade eligible either. So just a reminder there. And from everything that Stein is hearing, it sounds like this is something that both sides are very interested in happening. So yeah, so I guess what does it mean for Dallas? And that's kind of what I want to talk about on the show of like, what are some similar contracts around the league that we can kind of comp him and his contract to? Why should the Mavs do this? Why should PJ want this? Why they shouldn't do that, or why PJ shouldn't want this? But just a reminder about PJ, he's 27 years old. Like I said, he's 6'8". If he signs this contract, this 4-year contract in Dallas on Friday, that would take him until he's like, 31, 32. This is, right around the, it feels like prime is so subjective based off the player, but you're right in your kind of prime, right? Your years 27 to 31 or 28 to 32, right in the middle of that. So if you're looking at a PJ Washington, you're like, man, this past season, so they trade for him 2 trade deadlines ago. They get him for the end of that season, and then that whole playoff run, which they go to the finals. We got standing on business. He's the OKC killer. Just so many memories. We've talked so many times before about how playoff runs kind of establish these role players as like Mavs, like mini legends in a way, of how we've had the JJ Bareas in the past and these, different guys throughout Mavs history that when you go on a deep playoff run, you're going to have these guys. And PJ was one of those guys in that finals run. He is so versatile defensively, on offense too. He's playing really good basketball. And then this past full season in Dallas, he had some injuries and stuff, but it was kind of like Lively the year before that. When PJ went down over this past season, I just remember having different conversations at the arena with other media, and it was like the quiet thing of, is he the most important player on the team outside of Luka before the trade? Because they didn't have another guy on their team that could really do what PJ brought them. And he kind of established his worth and established just how important he is. And he played some of the best basketball, if not the best basketball of his career this last season at the age of 27, going into a contract year. So you're like, for him, it's an exciting time. How can I capitalize on this in this moment? And and get some bread, get that next big contract. So when you start looking at it across the board and you're like, should the Mavs do this? Should, PJ, do this and all this stuff? From a Mavs angle, I've said this all along. If PJ Washington is willing to take the contract on Friday for 4 years, a little under $90 million, right around or a little under $25 million a year, I think Dallas should drive the contract over to him and say, hey, sign it right here. I don't care. We could talk about the role and all this stuff. I think if you can lock in a player at that position that's been playing that good of basketball in your system, in your arena and all of that, then sign me up. I think you take it and then you figure out the role and the minutes and all that stuff later on. So this I think would be great news for the Dallas Mavericks if this happens. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back, and I want to go through some comps because I have some players I want to throw at you of, do you think PJ is better or even with blank player? This podcast is brought to you by our good friends over at Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Heck no. If they didn't answer, I'm not waiting at all. The moment I hear that little music that plays while I'm waiting, no, I'm out. That's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. Open Phone lets you manage business calls and texts from a single app. They even have an AI agent that handles after-hours calls. I don't think I could take a work call right now with my pregnant wife and couple little kids running around too right now. So this is where the AI agent would come into play with OpenPhone. OpenPhone is offering listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Yeah. All right. We're talking about PJ Washington. Guys, I just want to say thank you for everybody that filled out the survey. I really appreciate that. We really appreciate that. It's been fun seeing a lot of you guys' answers, and we're going to be going over that later on this week. I think Slightly and I are going to tackle some of it. Some of it's kind of surprising. Some of it is funny. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for feeling all of that out. Feeling. No, it's not feeling. Feeling. Gosh, my country accent's like rolling right now. It's awesome. All right, let's look at some other contracts around the league. Because immediately when I think of, hey, if we sign PJ Washington to an extension on Friday, comes in a little under that $25 million mark, who are some players around the league at the similar type of position that have recently signed kind of like a longer term contract that maybe I'd say around the same age, but some of the age, throw the age part out. They're kind of similar, but it's more about the same position and around the same type of money. So here's some names, and you tell me whenever I say a name that you're like, hey, that guy's better than PJ Washington. Cam Johnson. Would you rather have Cam Johnson or PJ Washington? I might be biased, but give me PJ Washington. So I like PJ's defense better than Cam Johnson. I'm a big Cam Johnson guy. I loved him coming out of North Carolina. He was a steal, and I think he's one of the best shooters in the league. I think he's going to be great on Denver, but I think I would take PJ over him. Next one, Naz Reid just signed a big contract in Minnesota to be a backup big, probably behind Randall and Gobert. Would you rather have Naz Reid or PJ Washington? Naz Reid did win Sixth Man of the Year, so I guess he's a better offensive player, but I like PJ's defense better than Naz Reid. I think Naz Reid's defense kind of gets overlooked by some people, a little overrated. Kyle Kuzma, man, we've been down that road before. Yeah, give me PJ Washington over Kyle Kuzma. I don't know what Milwaukee's going to do with him right now. DeAndre Hunter, another guy who plays around the same position of PJ, makes around that same type of money. DeAndre Hunter. Give me PJ. These next two I struggle with. I love PJ a lot. I'm a big fan. But I struggle with picking these two guys over PJ. Jaden McDaniels in Minnesota. I think I would take Jaden maybe over, over PJ Washington. And then the last one's Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy is another similar position guy that's making around that type of money. Something I want to point out with this is right now at the current moment, we don't know what PJ Washington's role is, right? I mean, this is one of the, who's going to be the fifth starter. If we're locking in Cooper, AD, Dereck Lively, if you want to say Gafford, AD in a big, Cooper Flagg, and then let's just say Kyrie Irving, Kyrie or D'Lo, however you want to do that. So what's the final spot? Is it Klay Thompson? Is it PJ Washington? Is it somebody else that really throws you off? You're like, wow, I didn't know Max Christie's going to start. But it's probably going to be Klay Thompson or PJ Washington. I think a lot of us assume that's going to be Klay Thompson. So if you're saying PJ Washington's going to come off the bench, look at those guys I just read and say, how many of these guys are coming off the bench? Is this bench type of money making $24 million a year? Cam Johnson's going to start. Kyle Kuzma starts. DeAndre Hunter typically starts. He came off the bench a little bit once he got traded to Cleveland, but let's just say starter. Jaden McDaniels starter. Trey Murphy starter. Naz Reid's the only one on this list of these six guys that comes off the bench. He would probably start for a lot of teams, but with that logjam there, he was the Sixth Man of the Year. So I'm not saying that, hey, PJ's not worth the money. I do just think it's a little interesting of saying, hey, we're going to pay somebody, which they should. Let me make a note of that. They should, because I think it's a big win for Dallas. I've said that in the first segment. I'm saying it now. you're going to be paying somebody $24 million roughly that could be coming off the bench a lot of the year. Now, will he be finishing games? Probably. Will he still log a lot of minutes? Yes, probably. So some of you are like, who cares about starting? I agree. I'm with you. I think starting is so overrated. It's more about who finishes games. But you know who does care about starting? A lot of NBA players. I promise you. And whether you agree with that or not, starting matters to a lot of NBA players. Not saying it matters to PJ. It could not. Never ask him about it. But starting does matter to a lot of NBA players. So just wanted to make that note that he could be making, under $90 million over this 4-year deal, and he could be coming off the bench. So he would, in theory, be one of the higher paid bench players or second teamers or sixth man in the league. So if he signs the extension also, that I said in the first segment, it takes him off the trade market, right? It would allow Dallas and PJ to kind of like, hey, you really can't be in rumors or anything because there's that 6-month time frame there in which he's ineligible to be traded. So like, how's it affect the trade deadline? Well, that takes a pretty valuable asset and a pretty big contract number off the table, right? Like this is one of those things this past offseason of, hey, you're going into next season with Gafford and PJ. This is before the Gafford injury. And it's like you have these expiring contracts. Those two alone could be $30-something million, $31 million. Then you have all these other wings and stuff like that. And it's like you could really go after a lot of different people. Well, they've already extended Daniel Gafford. And if they extend PJ Washington, that takes that asset completely off the board at the trade deadline. So then you're looking at, okay, so let's just do this exercise together. What are the most coveted assets that Dallas has when it comes to the trade market? Well, I would start off with Cooper Flagg. They're not going to trade Cooper Flagg. They're not, ever. They have Anthony Davis. I feel like they've already committed a lot to him, so he's probably off the board. They have their future first-round picks that are valuable, that are really valuable after that. Feels like they're kind of holding those close to their chest. Hint is why I think they probably went after D'Lo instead of trading for somebody bigger with a bigger impact. So it's like Cooper, AD, first-round picks. I would throw Dereck Lively in that mix, then Kyrie Irving, and then I'd say PJ Washington. Like, I think PJ's like the, sixth best if you throw first-round picks into 1/6 most coveted asset, because I think almost every team in the league would love to have a PJ Washington. So what does that leave? If you're saying, hey, none of these other things are going to get traded at the deadline, we're pretty confident that they're going to keep all of the things I just listed. So what is the assets that you have at the deadline? It's Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, Max Christie, Najee Marshall, and Cody Martin. Caleb Martin. Sorry. Wrong twin. So it's those guys. So does it affect the trade deadline? It does. But who cares? Like, you freaking signed PJ Washington. You get him to the extension. I don't care about taking an asset off the board come the trade deadline. Let's answer some questions here. Why should PJ Washington take this extension right now? Well, one, I've been pretty vocal. I even said it on yesterday's podcast with Bobby Corella from DLLS. Used to do a lot of shows with him when we both worked for the Dallas Mavericks. And I always love talking with Bobby. But I said on that show yesterday, I'm kind of worried about PJ being in like a weird, funky role this year of like, hey, you just had a really efficient season, arguably your best season of your career. Now, bam, come off the bench, play this role. Oh, you might not close tonight. Oh, you're going to close tonight. I just think it might be inconsistent. So if you think that you are going to have an inconsistent year and possibly come off the bench, then you don't want to lose money after this season, after you just came off a really good season. So cash in now, get the contract now, lock in $90 million. Why should PJ take it right now? Because that's $90 million. And that's more than anybody who's listening to this on this podcast, besides Patrick Dumont, friend of the pod. Why should the Mavs do it now? Well, you really don't want another Jalen Brunson situation, do you? God bless. I can't handle that. Can you imagine going into the season? Can you imagine looking at PJ Washington right now and saying, you know what? You really you had a good season last year. Pretty good, right? You shot the ball well from three, really fit in with the guys, continuing to fit in. We love you here. But yeah, we're not going to do that extension right now. We're going to wait. We're going to see how the season plays out. We're not really confident in your role. We don't know really what your role. We can't define it right now. We can't provide clarity for you right now what that role looks like with Cooper coming in and our commitment to two bigs. So let's just play the season out and then we'll figure it out over the summer. No, you don't want to do that now. You want to lock him up now. You don't want to play that game anymore, especially with a guy who's 27 years old that a lot of teams would love to have, because he could have a really good season again. He could shut down the extension and you could try again. Not that this has ever happened before, of saying no at the beginning of the season and then coming back in like January and being like, hey, can we sign you to the extension now? And it's like, nope, that's passed because I can make more money in the open market. You don't want another Brunson situation. And the demand for a player like that, I think, is pretty high. So that's why the PJ should do it. That's why the Mavs should do it now. And then coming up after this break, I have one player comp from last season that I think might surprise you. And then I want to answer the question too, why not for either? Like, why should PJ be questioning this, and why should Dallas be questioning this? Coming up in just a bit. This podcast is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. August 26th is official FanDuel Futures Day, which is tomorrow or today. Let's go. It's a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. Guys, if you know me, I'm a huge Baltimore Ravens fan. So right now, if you want to go pick your MVP, you want to lock in Lamar Jackson, let's do it. Do it right now. You want to crown your champion right now? You just want to go ahead and put the money down on the Baltimore Ravens? Let's go do that. You're definitely not putting money on the Dallas Cowboys right now. Yeah, so go do that on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game.
Shut it down! Oh, no! Let's go home!
Sorry, guys, I had to take a drink of water because that's what pro podcasters do, take a drink of water during the middle of a podcast. So why should PJ kind of question it or be thinking about it a little bit more? Why should the Dallas Mavericks be thinking about it a little bit more? I don't think either side should think about it. I think they should both. I think it's a win-win for both sides for them to do this extension on Friday. But if you're PJ, do you think you could get more money on the open market? Do you look at this past season and say, hey, I had a pretty dang good season at a position that a lot of teams really like. And I'm looking at it across the board, and you're looking at some of the guys with similar money. And if you're confident in yourself, and if you're confident that, hey, I can be better than that, I can be better than these guys. And I think let's just see how this plays out in the offseason, and somebody will give me more money than that. So I'm not confident that, let me say it this way. If the big trade never happened and Luka was still on this team and PJ was locked into that small ball 4 spot, I think I would wait if I was PJ, because I think he was playing really good basketball in that spot. His role in the season would be clearly defined. But right now, in the current situation, especially with Cooper coming in, lock it in. Get that extension, and I think Dallas should too. And then the question is, why should Dallas wait? I don't think there's a reason for them to wait. The only thing is if you are looking at it from a Dallas perspective and saying, man, are we really going to pay $24 million to a player to come off the bench? And are you comfortable with that? And I think you should be comfortable with it, especially with the salary cap going up and all of that. What would be the case for PJ if you're like, hey, if you're PJ's camp of saying, I think I can make more money this offseason? Well, one of the things I think you could throw out there, if you're PJ Washington, is look at his season look at what he just did over this past season. So I just wanted to look at his a guy like that in his position, 6'7", 6'8" guy that could play, the 4, play the 3. And last year he shot the ball really well. He shot at 38% from 3. But something else from PJ that I really, really like is he rebounds the basketball. He averaged over 7 rebounds a game. I think it was like 7.5 boards. So I kind of just put those qualifiers in the stat head, and I was like, all right, I just wonder. I wonder how many players in the league over 6'7" that shot 38% from 3 and that averaged at least 7 boards a game. Came back 7 players. Nikola Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, Domantas Sabonis, Nikola Vucevic, Michael Porter Jr., John Collins, and PJ Washington. Only 7 players did that last season. Would you say that all those guys are starters? For the most part, outside of John Collins. But I would say PJ Washington has way more value than John Collins right now, even though he just went to the Clippers and probably have a really good season for the Clippers. I give you that of saying, does that show you that, hey, he thinks PJ's on the same level as, Jokic? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that's kind of rare to be one of those guys that's like at least 6'7", that is shooting the ball really well from 3 and is also going in and getting rebounds at the same time. Because I also look at a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr., and it's like, once again, I'm not saying this from the angle of, hey, like he's better than Jaren Jackson Jr. or I think he's the same level as Jaren Jackson Jr. But when you look at Triple J in Memphis, you look at his season last year. Yes, he played 20 more games than PJ. He played 74 games. PJ played 57. So what? 17 more games. Now, he gets PJ in points. I get that. He averaged a little over 22 a game. PJ only averaged 15 points a game. I get that. But then you look at rebounds after that. PJ is a better rebounder than Jaren Jackson Jr. He's a little bit, they average around the same amount of assists, around the same amount of steals, around the same amount of blocks. Then you look at 3-point percentage, around the same amount of 3-point percentage. And I get these are just like standard counting stats and all of that. And it's like, I just feel like Jaren Jackson Jr. is talked about like one of these like future young stars, or not even future, like one of these young stud stars in the league. Just got a massive contract extension in Memphis, and deservedly so. I'm not trying to do this to like diminish Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm just trying to say, is the gap between PJ Washington and Jaren Jackson Jr. as massive as what I think majority of people would say? There's definitely a big gap there. I get that. But I'm looking at it and saying, dude, Jaren Jackson Jr. is viewed that way with that big of a contract, and he only averages 5.5 boards a game. 5.5 boards? Like, are you going to rebound, bro? And it's like, PJ averages almost 2. He does. He averages over 2 full rebounds a game than Jaren Jackson Jr., and he's got, 3 to 4 inches on him? And it's like, all right, you want to throw the playmaking card of Jaren Jackson Jr.? And it's like, no, they average around the same amount of assists, which I know isn't everything with playmaking, but steals, blocks, a lot of what is talked about with Jaren Jackson Jr. is his defense. And it's like, all right, well, PJ did a lot of that last year. PJ and Jaren Jackson Jr. shoot about the same from 3-point. So it's like, that's all I'm trying to say with this. I'm not trying to say he's better than Triple J. I'm just trying to say, like, man, like, PJ's a really dang good player. And I think we should all like keep that in mind when it comes to this extension. Or I think some people that maybe are maybe confused by the salary cap stuff, they could see on Friday, if this extension goes through on Friday, they could see it and be like, dude, so now we can't trade him and he's going to make $24 million and he might not even start. What are we doing right now? It's like, no. PJ Washington is a really good basketball player, and I think he's one of the most important Mavs on the team. And when you're starting to rank most important Mavs on the team, not like coveted assets, not that type of ranking, what I said earlier, but when you're sitting there saying, who are the most important Mavericks on the team for this team to be successful next season? You're talking about Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Cooper Flagg, and I'm putting PJ Washington right there. I'm putting PJ as more important than Lively, more important than Gafford, more important than D'Angelo Russell, and any of the wings, Klay, Christie, Najee Martin, any of those guys. I think PJ Washington's one of the most important Mavs on the team. I think he's a good basketball player, and I think he's only getting better. He's 27 years old. So if he signs an extension on Friday for 4 years, a little under $90 million, a little under $25 million a year at the age of 27, and he's locked into Dallas for the next 4 years, I think it's a massive win for PJ Washington, and I think it's a massive win for the Dallas Mavericks. So let's make it happen. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Locked On Mavs. Peace out.